You know what time it is. It's Birds of a Feather back up in this bitch. So we were doing our rankings. You missed seeing them. Do something a little bit different. As you can see on the bottom, we're brought to you by Fitzgerald's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breast, tomato pie, sandwiches, other cutlass meatballs. Mention the A2D rating for 10% off your store and purchase. Wanted to get that out of the way because I feel like the precursor before we roll the intro. This is going to be a doozy. And I think all of us feel a little dirty.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So be easy on us in the comments, fam. But it's the ranking show since 2000 of wide receivers. Let's go.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! You're flying! Welcome in. It's almost time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, brought to you by Fitzgerald's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed bread, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere you download your podcast. So, if you're listening to us live right now, or on your commute, or on the way to Fitzgerald's Bread, we greatly appreciate the support. We are back. Your fearsome foursome, Chucks, OG Pete, Mr. PY, and Mr. Jake Friel. Gentlemen, what goes it? How are you today? And are you guys still sane from trying to put these lists together over the past week?
To answer the second part, no. But little life update for everyone. My realtor just texted me. And we are closing in on a house.
Woo-hoo! I didn't know this.
That was a baby.
I just felt as if that's where we were going.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
did anyone else think it was a baby?
No. Yeah, I thought it was a baby.
Wifey ain't right now. They're not.
No. I don't know, man.
Not yet. I'm good.
But then him announcing that.
You better knock on wood, son.
That would have been bad. I'm pretty sure his fiance would not have appreciated him spoiling the news that way. But
yeah, right now.
Yeah. But
you know how many of us are at? You know how many of us are actually at that wedding that we just didn't know about? Come on now.
Surprise.
Well, that's awesome, Jake.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you guys. That's awesome. Good stuff.
Still in PA?
Yeah, still in PA. Yep.
Nice.
Still in my hometown. So.
How about the Pete and Pete? What's going on with you guys? Anything?
Dying.
Okay, as usual. Same.
So per usual. Okay, good.
Per usual.
Good to know.
Man, I know. There's so much stuff that happens in my life on a day-to-day basis, man. I have a house full of 6 people at some point in time. And the dog. I did wake up to. I guess my wife let the dog out last night before she went to bed. I guess that wasn't good enough. So.
Oh, jeez.
Stumbling and coming down the hallway before I start work, I'm like, why does it look like there is pellets on my fucking rug? I'm like, dude, you too old for this, man. It's like he had a mid-dog life crisis, bro.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
I'm just happy it was one of those and not when he's like
not like a mess.
Dog. Yeah. So that would have been bad.
How old is your dog?
9.
Oh, okay, he's as old as mine. Okay.
Yeah. He was supposedly a birthday gift for me in 2014, and his real name. Well, not his real name. His name as a puppy was Dallas, and you know that shit wasn't on the phone.
Oh, hell no.
So,
well, he's used to shit in the bed then.
His owners are. His original owners were, but no.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. All right, guys. Well, we've got a very interesting show this week. We are going to attempt to give our rankings of the best wide receivers since 2000 that we built a franchise with. We've been communicating over the past week or so, and this has been probably the hardest ranking I've ever tried to have to do. And I think we all agree on that. So this is going to be very interesting as we go forward with this list because it's going to be all over the place. And it should be a lot of fun and should be a lot of disagreements, we should say. So those who are listening in, watching live, definitely join in, give your opinions, thoughts, each how dumb each of us are, so that we can we can just wallow in our agony. But anyways, we're going to hit that first half of the show, and then second half we'll go no huddle, hit you with random topics here and there that we ever so may please. But the first half of the show, it's brought to you by A2D Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation for you. Make sure you hit up either myself or Andy Ritter, also from A2D. If you are looking for a Disney vacation, get those bookings in, guys, because it's going fast. It's middle of summer, so you want to get those vacations booked. The poll question, I wanted to lead off with this because we've had difficulty coming up with these rankings, right? Each of us, and I think one of the main reasons why is because of the poll question that I'm going to put up, which is the changes in today's passing game make it tough to compare current wide receivers to past wide receivers. Agree or disagree? This is a very loaded question, and I wanted to lead off with that before we get into our rankings, and get your thoughts about what each of your processes were, how you felt going forward, trying to compile these lists. So, Jake, let's start with you. Agree or disagree to the poll, and like, what is your take on it? Why is it so difficult?
It's the game, and you can use this similar to the arguments that people have talking about Shaq and Kobe, excuse me, Jordan and LeBron. The game's completely different. The game's just different. The athlete's different. LeBron's a completely different athlete than Michael Jordan. Jordan's a different athlete, and the game was much more physical back then, opposed to when LeBron was playing. And that's the same thing with football now. Football back then, like for example, like when a T.O. played, Calvin Johnson played, it was a much more physical game, and people got away with a lot more back then. Today, you can hardly play defense as a corner anymore. You can't even touch the guy hardly. So it's just a different type of just athlete altogether, similar to what I was talking about with the NBA. But today's passing game makes it tough to compare. Yeah, I agree. Aside from like a couple exceptions, you know what I mean? There's some that come to mind to where they could play in today's game, but I'm going to have to agree with the poll. It would be tough it is tough to compare. It's very tough.
PY.
Yeah, I just think he's on the right track, just because, in a sense that like the rules are just different. Like with early 2000s guys, you could get away with a lot more. Like now everything's a little bit more protected, especially with a quarterback. So you're able to get to your receiver a little bit easier, and the corners they're not able to do as much as they used to, because especially like with the early defenses, like the Ravens defense, like you could chop dudes, you could hit them, you could blindside them across the middle, and you'd be allowed to do that. Nowadays, they're able to get more separation, more flags are called, and things like that. Like I think it's a different game with your wide receiver now as opposed to the early 2000s, because I think the gloves are off a little bit more as they were in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes total sense.
So I would expound on the poll just as far as like just saying not just the passing game, but just the overall offense mindset and ideology in general. It's definitely tough because I feel as if I think the wide receivers of yesteryear would be able to transition to today's game. We all kind of agree with that, right? Just because of how much more hands-off it is. But I also think that current wide receivers in that era, the early 2000s NFL, would still be somewhat successful from this standpoint, is that you go back and you look at the corners from that era. They weren't as twitchy. They weren't as fast. Their three-cone drills and things of that nature weren't as – you didn't have to be as stop on a diamond and as agile as today's top corners, right? So if you take, say, for instance, a prime time – I'm trying to think what current wide receiver really sets themselves apart. All right, I use this guy because I think he's probably one of the best route runners still, even though he's been in the league for a long time. But you take like a Keenan Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, well, if you can get your hands on him, that's cool. But then he can do things with his body to get you off of him. I just don't think some of the top corners in that time frame would be able to close that gap. Whereas I feel like, all right, vice versa. You take a pass wide receiver, let's say Chad Johnson. You put Chad Johnson or Sauce Gardner or somebody like that. And I know I'm using like extremes, right? Using one of the top corners in the league already, second year in. It's crazy to even say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that matchup may be more fair because of what Chad could do with his footwork, but also the footwork of the corners as well. So it's a little bit different. But I definitely think that current wide receivers would have a little bit of a more difficult time transitioning to that era of football versus pass wide receivers translating to this era
right
in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. So I agree to the poll.
Yeah. Everything you guys said, right on point. So I'm going to agree to the poll, obviously. To add to everything you guys said, I think with a big reason why I think wide receivers today are just different from what they were before is usage. I think that back like 20 years ago, early 2000s, even before that, it's changed over the past, we'd say like decades, like 10 years. Your number one wide receiver was your ex wide receiver.
Right.
He was the guy on the outside. He was the guy that was going to play against the best press corner, and the prototype,
the boundary wide receiver. Yep.
The boundary wide receiver. The prototype was what the big guy, usually with good size, who could get deep, be physical, whatnot. Just all around. That's your top guy, and he's always on the boundary. I don't know exactly when it started to shift, but now it's to the point where your top guy can be your slot receiver. Like look at Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp plays primarily in the slot, but he does play on the outside. But he's used mostly in the slot because that's where he's best at. Justin Jefferson, his rookie year, played most of the slot time in the slot as well. Now he's moved more so to the outside, but he's shown he can do both of them, right? There are so many, like Wes Welker made, like revolutionized. Maybe that's when it started. Wes Welker kind of helped revolutionize the slot receiver position, because until him, like slot receiver was just kind of looked at as a death piece, and then Wes Welker started getting all these targets, all these catches from Tom Brady. And then you had Danny Amendola, and then even a Marcus Colston for the Saints, the first big slot receiver that came along to come, because even before him, you had guys. The slot receivers were just small, quick guys, right? Mm-hmm. Then he comes along. He's a big-bodied receiver that can that can use his leverage to his advantage in the middle of the field. So it's really changed to where now the usage of the top receiver is different. And because of that, the molds and the styles that these receivers play with has also changed. Because now how many of the top wide receivers now do you see that are smaller? 20 years ago, you had one guy that was small, and that was Steve Smith. Nowadays, you have a ton of guys who are on the smaller build that can really, really play, and would argue is the best receiver in the team. So it's really, really tough because, Pete, what you said, like, or was it Jake? Where we assume that all these wide receivers from 20 years ago could play in today's era, and I'd say that too, but I'd also want to see how they would be used differently if they were in this era.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those guys would be moved around and put in the slot? How would that change their production? How would that affect what they would do on the field? It's really an interesting question that no one really has a true answer to. and it's really something to ponder. You know, I was listening to a podcast from The Athletic. They were doing like their Hall of Very Good, and there's someone on the topic of players who were ahead of their time. They talked about Peter Warwick, right? Peter Warwick was ahead of his time because he was this, you know, ultra quick wide receiver, just got open, but like no one knew how to use that type of wide receiver.
That's why I said the ideology of the
Yeah.
offense. Remember?
Mhm.
Yeah, but nowadays, if Peter Warwick came into this league, he'd be tearing it up, right?
Yep.
He would be one of the top receivers in the league. So it's crazy to think about. It makes it really difficult to really compare. And you know, I think PY, what you said before the show while we were waiting is just like I think we all watched football back in the early 2000s, but we didn't watch it with the knowledge that we do now. I think that's safe to say. And because we have better knowledge now, we're able to study these wide receivers in more detail. Whereas before, we
You're just a
watched
fan.
it, but we didn't know what we were watching. So like
Yeah.
right now, if we're going to really study them, all we have to go off is highlights, which isn't really, you know, fair. And so like we have to use stats, we have to use, you know, highlight videos on YouTube to try to really understand and compare, like, okay, how is this wide receiver speed really match up to like the speed of these guys now? Like, could they have really survived? Because the athleticism, like you said, Pete, the DBs are much more athletic now. They might not they couldn't be more fit. They can't be as physical now, but they're more athletic. So it's just different. So it's really tough. It's a really good question or really good conversation to really dive into. You know, I'm sure if we could get into really a lot of depths with it, but I think it's a good thing to lead us off with. All right, so without further ado, unless did you have anything else to add?
Well, I mean, I think. All right, so now because I think then what I was going to ask may get us too far off topic, so I may save it for no huddle.
Okay, all right, no problem.
We'll revisit the poll question again.
Yeah, bookmark that. Okay, so let's open this up. Spreadsheet time. Da-da-da-da. Okay.
Where are the tears?
So
Alonzo
I didn't do
Travel,
tiers. Yeah, I didn't do tiers this week because.
Oh, you know what? Did you not know that we did tiers this week?
I know you guys did.
Jesus.
So it's really tough because I think if I would put them in the tiers, it'd be my top 3 would be tier 1, and then everyone else at tier 2. So I'm just like, there's no point in doing a tier. And I'm just gonna.
I'm interested to see who we have. How many of us have the same people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, 6 down.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, this is gonna be weird. Okay, so PY, how many did you do?
I did 10.
10. Jake, you did
10.
Okay, then Pete, you did 13.
14.
14. I did 14 as well. So let's do this, Pete. You read off your 14 to 11. I'll do the same, so we can just quickly touch on them, and then obviously we'll fill in if Jake and PY have those players in their top 10 as well. But we'll quickly just read them off, and then we'll touch on them as we go. That way we can kind of just bang out that list outside the top 10 and then get into the top 10. So read off your 14 to 11.
All right. So 14, Ocho Cinco.
Ooh, okay.
13.
D Hopkins.
Wow, okay.
12.
This person is probably not on anybody else's list, but I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think if he's not, he should be. I think he's in Torrey Holt.
He is.
Oh, that's a good one.
Outside.
Yeah, he was just outside mine too.
Yeah, he was just up. He's got my 15.
Who are
All right,
probably will get in one day, but it may take some other things happening. Anquan Bolden.
My boy. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go, Pete.
All right. So my 14.
That was my 11 too. Let's
Okay.
go.
So this is the guy. All right, guys. It's gonna start off with this guy, and I had no clue what to do with this guy. This is the one guy where I was like, "Yo, he could be number 4, he could be number 8, and he ended up on 14, and you'll see why." But I am concerned when I'm remember how we're phrasing this. It's wide receivers we build a franchise with.
I think I know where you're going.
So because of that, when I did my rankings, I took into account character off the field.
Okay.
And
2 letters.
because of
Is it
that,
2 letters?
I dropped this guy all the way down. But if this was just talent on the field, he would be like number 4 or 5. And this is Antonio Brown.
Are you serious?
Okay.
Antonio Brown.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, like, it's literally because of his off-field stuff. He's the one ranked so low.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet.
What I'm very interested to see what your take is on it. But let me read off the rest of it. 13, I've got Mr. Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson. I've got at 12.
And I thought
I got Devontae Adams at 12.
Okay.
And then at 11, a little bit of shocker, but this is the guy that in a few years he could be 5 or 6 as well. So his arrow is pointing way up, and that's Jamar Chase.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I just have to see more, but his potential is really, really high. All right. So Jake, let's go one by one. Do you have Chad Johnson in your top 10?
I do not.
Do you have D-Hop?
I do not.
Torrey Hill?
Nope.
Anquan?
Anquan would be my 11.
He would be your 11.
He would be my 11, yeah.
I'm going to just put him at 11 then if you know where you put him. And then do you have AB?
I have him at 9.
9, okay. You said you don't have Chad. Devontae, do you have?
I do not.
And then Jamar, I'm assuming no.
No.
Okay, PY, Chad Johnson, do you have him?
I do.
Where?
10.
Okay. You have D-Hop?
No.
Curry?
No.
Anquan?
No.
AB?
Yes.
Where?
5.
Wow.
Okay.
I would have.
I don't
Devontae
blame you. That's
over
the thing.
DeAndre if I remember Devontae.
So the way I look at it with AB is, here's the thing. You guys know me. I'm a big character guy.
Hold on. PY, before you get into that, Devontae, do you have?
No, I don't.
You don't, and then Jamar, no, right?
No.
Okay, all right. So, okay, go ahead with your Antonio Brown because I think I know what you're gonna say, and I don't. The thing is, you think I'm going to like blast you for it? I probably won't, because of what I just said about AB. But go ahead. What's your why do you have AB at 5?
He's just so like when he was that guy, like when he was that guy in Pittsburgh, he was explosive. He was a game changer. He was must-see TV. Like, you would blink, and he's already got, like, 200 yards, and he's jumping over kickers and just doing ridiculous AB stuff. Like, that's just who he was. Like, and you could deal with all the character issues because, you know what? He's going to give you 10 catches for 250 and, like, 3 touchdowns, and they probably win by 15. Like, that's the type of guy he was. Nowadays, like, especially nowadays, those character issues outweigh the talent.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see. The only thing, and apparent as you can see, where I disagree is I don't think the character for me personally outweighs the talent. Like it's gotten so far with his character that for me to drop him from, if you're talking about on the field stuff, he'd be at 4 or 5 to now 14. That's how bad the character stuff is. Now, I wish I could say, oh, I'm just going to pretend like he never got hit by Vontae Burfict, and it doesn't have probably doesn't have CTE, but I can't assume that that's something I can't just assume. So like, I can't put his antics. I can't overlook his antics to a point where I can put him higher than some of these guys. Like if I'm going to build a franchise with what I know, based on what I know about these wide receivers, I can't put him ahead of everyone else that I have listed. And you can disagree, and that's perfectly fine. My gut told me to put him this low. I wanted to put him higher because what you said was true. I had him when he was at his prime. He was absolutely the best wide receiver in the game. I had him there before it was consensus. I had him above Julio. I had him above, I forget who was the other wide receiver at the time, but he was my wide receiver 1 for years. He was ultra talented. So I totally hear you, but it's just the off-field stuff I can't overlook. Pete, did you have AB? I forgot to ask you. Sorry.
Yes.
Where'd you have him?
He's 10.
He's 10. Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add with AB? And then Jake, you can go.
I hear you on the 5. Could be 14, could be 10, could be 9. I will say this: character and talent. The bitch is still number 10 on my list.
Yep.
Because the other 9 ahead of him, how do I say this? Even with the Wes Welker comment, when you said about the slot, Wes Welker had Randy Moss on the outside, and he had Gronk, and he had Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
So it's easy to do that. Like, I would say AB was probably the first one to truly be that playmaker, get the ball in his hands out of the slot in that Pittsburgh offense, because it was him. Hines Ward was there for a little bit, the tail end of his career. And what's the other boy's name? Martavius Bryant. Mike Williams was there.
Yeah,
mix and match, but he was the catalyst. AB his feet. He does have crazy footwork.
He does.
And I've never seen one singular incident change a person's like this everything. Like how that Burfict hit did.
Yeah,
that Vontaze Burfict hit.
It's right after that where everything
just
fell off. Yeah.
So I mean, he still was, even when they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago with Tampa Bay. He wasn't what he was. Yeah. But that's why I think even Pittsburgh moved on, because they just couldn't deal with like PY said, he was must see TV. Yeah. He wasn't really must see TV for what he can do on the field. It was like, what are you going to get?
Right.
What are you going to get? And then like I can see if you're building a franchise, that talent and that character has to go hand in hand, because he's going to be one of the faces of your franchise.
Exactly. And that's
one of the pillars of your franchise.
If you were going, and if this was based on like one season, like what the Bucs did, I can understand what the Bucs did, because they brought him in with just like, hey, short term, you're going to be a piece to get us over the hump, and that's what he was, and that he did. He had a phenomenal Super Bowl. So like, I totally get that. If this was just for one season, he would be higher. Right. But I'm doing this in terms of, again, as we phrased it, build a franchise with. So I'm talking about this long term, and I just like I can't stomach the antics if I'm going to deal with him on a long term basis. But I mean, I could wake up tomorrow morning and be like, you know what, I want to have him at 10, or I want to have him at 7 or 8. You know what I mean? He was the one guy I said a few days ago, I had him as high as 4. Like, that's how great he was, and I was such a big fan of his until things went downward. So I don't blame anyone for having a higher. I just, today, that's where my gut told me. So that's where I left that. All right. So anyone else? So Pete, did you have anyone in your top 10 that I had outside? I'm assuming no, because Chad, you already.
No, I'm trying to think to myself like why I would put Hopkins over Adams.
I don't know. Hopkins was considered the best at one point, so I don't. Yeah,
I think it's something else too. I think it's. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk. I'll come back.
Okay, yeah. So I think with where I am with Jamar, well, I already said it with Devontae, it's really close too. I just think Devontae had a shorter stint in my book of being the number one wide receiver. Like, technically to me though, like he was never. I always had Tyreek over him, so he was never my wide receiver 1. I think Devontae, ultra great, ultra route runner. It's his other aspects of his game. He's not he's not super athletic, and he doesn't get a lot of yak. So because of that, I don't see his ceiling isn't as high as the other 11 guys that I have ahead of him.
So I can come back to you now. So here's the thing, and people don't know this. So up until this point, what I use and I'm not big, super crazy. I don't want to go to super crazy with stats.
Yeah.
But DeAndre Hopkins has 145 games played, as what I was looking at. Adams has 133. But Devontae Adams hasn't even eclipsed 10,000 yards yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Career. While Hopkins has almost 12,000. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I think peak Devontae hasn't been peak for very long. You know what I mean? Like it took him several years to get to be like a wide receiver one in Green Bay's offense, and then even then he was still offending. Like it wasn't that long ago. Devontae wasn't even considered a tier one wide receiver. So that's why it explains like that's why he's 12 on my list. That's why you don't have him ranked. Like, you know, D Hop I struggled with, but I think ultimately I do value what Devontae does at his peak more than D Hop does at his peak. Even though I've been a huge D Hop fan, but what you're saying in terms of consistency is absolutely valid. So I totally hear that. Talked about Devontae, Chase, Chad Ochocinco. Such a huge fan of him.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to put him higher, but I couldn't. But like he's just I loved his game. Talk about like one of the quickest feet I've ever seen. Packages. And honestly, one of the best human beings that there probably are in football right now. He is, you know, what he does now post his football career it's made me even a bigger fan of his. Like he is such a good person. He reaches out to he loves fans. He interacts with fans all the time.
It's an honorary Eagle in my book.
Yeah, like he loves Philly. Like yeah, Chad Johnson is just someone to so easily root for. So I gladly would put him at 13.
Him in today's game would just be oh my god.
Yeah. So Pete, the interesting one, I think Torrey Holt is a very underrated, and he's at my 15. But the name I want to now touch on, you and Jake both have him at 10, or both have him at 11, Anquan Bolden. So if you're skating on Anquan Bolden.
Debo before Debo.
Yep.
And you didn't recognize you had a Debo. Like he was the one. You get him short, you get him long. He can go to the house 80 yards. Over the middle, tough catches, good hands, good blocker. And then what the word we've been using, I think a lot, is just consistent and available. He did it in Arizona. Also, people forget he was on that championship Ravens team in 2012.
Yep.
He played a big part in that, huge part. And for times, he was the best wide. He was the number one. I mean, obviously in Arizona, he wasn't a number one per se because of someone else that's on this list at somewhere. Should not whose name should not be coming up anytime fucking soon, or else I'm leaving this shit. But I mean, just looking at it as far as somebody who keep his nose clean, never really heard too much, but he gave you everything. Like you hated to play against him, but if he was your teammate, he rode for you.
Yeah,
he was a dog. Like he was that guy. A locker room leader. I don't know what he's doing now to this day. I think not sure what his stats are. I would say maybe he gets into the Hall of Fame at some point, but he may.
So I have them right here. So three-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, 13,779 yards, 82 touchdowns in 202 games.
That's fringy.
Yeah, I think he'll get in eventually.
That's what I'm saying. Like he'll be one of the ones that gets in eventually.
He'll definitely get in. But just to build off of Pete's point, I like to call him kind of like the silent assassin because you never heard anything off the field or anything on the field. He was always quiet, led by example, came to work every day, did what he had to do. And that's the thing that I think people don't recognize. He was so underappreciated for when he played. People forget when he was on the Arizona Cardinals with the other guy who's on our list, who we'll talk about later. But he was just so good for so long. And even in his last year in 2016, he had 8 touchdowns.
Yep.
He had 8 touchdowns.
San Fran, right? Was that with San Fran?
Detroit.
Detroit. Okay.
His last
sorry,
year was in
yeah.
Detroit. He had 584 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Probably could have
In
played
his
another
last
year or two.
He could have, but I remember when he retired. I'm like, wow, he had 8 touchdowns. He can still play, but he after 13 or 14 years, he's like, nah, I'm good. And
Good. I got a
rightfully
ring.
so. Rightfully so. He's good, and he'll eventually get in. If he doesn't get in my lifetime, the Hall of Fame's a total disgrace then, because he
Yeah,
should definitely get in.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if he'll get in because I think he's one of those. I don't have the numbers on top of my head, but he's similar to Frank Gore, where such a long and consistent career, but his peaks were never. I don't know if people will ever see his peaks as elite peaks. You know
I know
what
what you mean. Yeah.
At his best, I don't know if people ever looked at him as elite, and so that might hurt him because all he has is longevity. Now, maybe that does help him. I don't know. Again, that's why I said I don't know if he'll ever get in because how are they going to weigh that? You know, it's the difficult question of like, do you value longevity and durability and consistency over a long period of time, or do you want the short peaks? You know, which one's more valuable? Like we know that Terrell Davis got into the Hall of Fame. He didn't have a long career, but when he was in, he was dominant. And so he got in. I don't know. And we talked about I'm not trolling. We don't want to get into this, but a case for Eli Manning is that he had such a long career and he was so durable, which works for him. But again, like the argument is that never during his tenure or career was he looked at as an elite quarterback. Now he has 2 rings that they do help. Bolden has a ring, right? He won with the Ravens. Yep. So he has a ring. So again, it's really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if he does get in. I don't know. Like if you literally put a gun in my head, I would not be able to give you an answer.
I would say at some point, if you are within the top 10 of all time, whatever yards, like at some point you should get into the Hall. Like there's been enough football from the time that you played that showed like, hey, like I was one of the best 10 to ever do it as far as stats. You know what I mean?
Gotcha,
that's just me.
Yep, Mr. Wing.
Big basket. 14. Oh my god. All right. So that does it for our we're 37 minutes into the show. We've only gone to we haven't get in the top 10. But I mean I really like the conversation so far.
Gonna get the coffee brewing.
Already, yeah. All right. So what gap are we missing? So Jake, you're number 10. Who you got?
Number 10, Reggie Wayne.
Why do you have him ranked?
I do.
Where?
8.
Pete, you have him?
7.
Okay.
Guys, I don't have him ranked.
Really?
What the fuck?
I don't have him ranked.
Really?
Yeah,
is Chuck's Pete this week?
Did you do this?
Why?
Do you want me to start? Do you guys want to?
I would love to start.
I don't have him ranked because to me, if I'm doing my best looking just at individual talent, I think that his predecessor on the team is ranked high on my list. But if I were to compare the talents of each of them, I'd say his predecessor was a lot more talented than him. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful to Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne was such a great wide receiver. But I think a lot of his production was also being, one, for the first part of his career, was having Mr. Marvin Harrison on the other side. And then 2, benefiting from Peyton Manning. Now, it's not a fair conversation to have because, like, I don't want to be disrespectful and take away from Reggie Wayne. And this is where I get into, like, I had to leave people out. But, like, I do think Chad Johnson was a better wide receiver was more talented than Reggie Wayne. I do think Devontae Adams.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think Devontae Adams is a better wide receiver than Reggie Wayne. Same with Jamar. I think Jamar Chase will shortly show that he's more talented than Reggie Wayne. And then obviously we know about
physical. I would say both of those from a physical aspect, yes. But I think Reggie Wayne doesn't get enough. In order to play with Peyton like that, you have to be super mentally smart. And what's the one thing we heard about Chad Johnson when he went to New England? He couldn't.
Because that is a fair point. That is a definitely fair point. Yeah. If you have here's the thing: if you have like Devontae Adams or like Jamar Chase, would they have been able to play with Peyton Manning? I think they could have.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're that talented. So that's where it was really difficult. He's one of the ones that just missed like this list, but I just couldn't include him in because again, you guys know me. I look at stats, but that doesn't weigh heavy on what and how I see rank guys. Right. I do my best to look at the individual player.
What was Peyton's last year in Indy?
2011.
All right, so he had 3 years with Andrew Luck too.
Yeah.
Or technically it's 2010, I guess.
So he had 4.
Yeah, because Reggie, hold on.
I mean, the bitch got like almost 15,000 yards.
Because Reggie retired in 2014. And he finished with 14,345 yards. That's what he finished with.
Yeah,
Marvin has 14,580. So, but to Chuck's point, Reggie Wayne retired in 2008, and that was 1, 2.
You mean Marvin Harrison?
Marvin Harrison, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he had Reggie was playing next to Marvin for 8 years.
Yeah.
And even after that, he still dominated because by then he's already established.
Yeah, he's already established. He's already like.
But from the physical, if you line them up and you just watch and say like, I think Chuck's view on this is, all right, this is the wide receiver since 2000 combine. I'm just watching dudes run 40 in and out of routes, catching balls, physical attributes. Mm-hmm. I would say Reggie Wayne would probably not be picked 7th.
Yeah.
Out of all that.
Yeah. I'm not I'm not basing my list off of like who had the greatest career. I'm saying if they were all in their prime and based on what I know about how they panned out, who would I want on my team? And unfortunately, Reggie Wayne wouldn't be as high as some of these other guys. I hate saying that. I hate saying it. It sounds so wrong for me to say that about Reggie Wayne. And about a bunch of guys I don't have listed, and that's why it's driving me insane.
I know.
I feel dirty, but like it's just a shame. But yeah, like you guys, did any of you want to add anything to the Reggie Wayne?
He's a sleeper. Like to me, he was a quiet killer, man. He didn't talk much. You didn't think he wasn't flashy with it. Like but bro, you just look back like bro, this bitch just puts up numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, he was going against the best because after 08, who did you have? I can't think of it. Who was the next wide receiver Indy had?
Collie, remember had Austin Collie.
Collie, who got? I mean, he was good, but he got hurt a lot.
Yeah, and there was someone else I think they had like as.
Edgerrin James was still there. You know what I mean? But still, like that team, man, like he was it, and he was up there every year. But like once again, it was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It was super quiet about it.
Yep. Yeah, but he was tremendous. He was
fantastic. Yeah.
He was tremendous. All right, so my number 10, and I will completely say this. I included him a lot because if I'm building a franchise, I would want this type of attitude on my team because he is an absolute dog and someone I loved watching. And that's Steve Smith. Like I loved.
You scared me there for a second.
I didn't know where you were going for a second.
Pete, did you have Steve Smith?
He's 9.
9. Okay, so we're not far off. Jake, did you have him?
I have him 8.
Ooh, you guys like him more than me.
I have him 8.
Sweet. PY, did you have him?
I have him just outside 10.
Okay,
that's fine.
So who's your 9?
Do you want me to say 9 then?
Yeah, I'm curious to see Pete. We're talking about the mind of Pete Young.
PY. Okay, PY. Do you want to say your 9, PY?
Yeah. Andre Johnson.
Ooh. Okay.
At 9.
Wow.
Once again, this is tough. This is a tough one for me. Okay.
It is tough.
Like, so my thing with Andre Johnson is just he's electric. Like every time the ball is in his hands, like something is going to happen. And the crazy part of why it's happening, who was his quarterbacks?
Matt
Yeah.
Schaub.
Yeah.
Matt Schaub was the best one he ever played with.
I'm not even just talking about him. Remember who he debuted with?
Wasn't it?
David freaking Carr.
David Carr, right.
The car wreck.
The car wreck. That's great.
It's like Schaub was amazing, but like he had nothing. Like that whole team was like a joke for like a decade when they forced him to play there, and he's just like making everything happen. Why? Because he's that dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like
at one point, I would have given up maybe three number one picks for him.
Yeah. Yep.
Like give him in any other era, and I think he's a lot higher on the list because the talent around the team as a whole is better. The quarterback has to be better. Like, because what is it? 4 years with David Carr, and then like 3 or 4 years with Schaub, or however long it was, and then the tail end he got Deshaun, right?
No.
He was
retired before Deshaun.
Yep.
The best quarterback that he had was Andrew Luck in 2015.
When he was already past his prime.
I was going to say, he was on the tail end of his career by then.
See, PY, everything you say is true, and that's why, if you're looking at his talent, that's why I have him much higher than 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think 9 is severely low, but maybe we were constructing our list with different mindsets. I think you were going off of like who had the greater numbers and greater careers, whereas me, I'm looking at talent. So, Pete, I don't want to get into Andre yet because he's really high on my list. Pete, did you have him? Let's say
I do. I mean, I have him
really high.
I have him at 8.
You have him at 8. You had Andre Johnson at 8. Okay.
And
Jake, did you have Andre Johnson?
I had Andre Johnson at 7.
7. I'm highest on Andre Johnson.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is where like 1 through 4.
It's tough.
This is going to shock people. 1 through 4 was solidified early.
Yep.
That 5, 6, I would say outside of Reggie, I've had Andre as high as 5, but I was like, I can't. I could, but I can't.
Okay, so
it's tough.
I have Andre Johnson at 5.
Okay.
So I think his talent warrants it. Like it's
for sure.
This is a guy who was looked at when he was in his prime, and he had crap at quarterback, like PY said, who was looked at as the best wide receiver in the game. Did you know that Kyle Shanahan, when he shows tape of a prototypical and a perfect X wide receiver or what they should look like, it's Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson,
that one piece of nose tape
is the epitome of what we were talking about with that era of football where your X wide receiver is the best. What do you want him? What do you want him? You want him to be fast, tall, like he was the total package before someone else came along that I'll get to who's even higher. But like at that time, he was the total package. And so I think the talent warrants him being in the top 5. I even flirted with him at 4. I severely flirted with him at 4, but my preference in terms of style made me put him at 5. But he's really close to 4. He's closer to 4 than he is to 6. I will say that. So he's really high, and I'm surprised. Like I'm a little bit surprised that PY had him at 9. You got him at 8, P, and then Jake had 7. But like, I think Andre Johnson is severely underrated overall because he was on a trash team, and I think like there's no way I can keep him out of my top 5. That's how I see it, but that's how I constructed my list though. So 9, my number 9. Here's where it gets saucy, okay, guys. For me, here's where
you have a lot of you and PY have a lot of blank spaces.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, well, PY has his 10 to 8 now. So because he didn't do his
Yeah, you gotta catch up.
So 9. I have a really good reason for why he's this high.
Oh, dear.
Whatever you have to lead with that.
Right. Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it.
I want you to look at his stats and his career trajectory right now.
But you just said you looking at talent. You're not worried about stats.
Wait, hold on.
Did you not just say that 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. But if you look at, I'm using his stats as supplemental.
I get it. Talent wise, yeah, I get it.
Again, talent wise, he is ultra talented. I don't think I need to remind anyone, especially Jake, of how talented Justin Jefferson freaking is. He can play anywhere. He's fast. He can catch everything. Like he is on a trajectory where he is going to land as one of the all-time greats, as long as he doesn't get hurt. Knock on wood. So
and he has Kirk Cousins as his quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, well, he for maybe another year, and then he's going to go to the next one. But
and then we'll see where that goes.
In terms of talent, it's so apparent. I think Jamar Chase has higher ceiling than Justin Jefferson. But based on what they've done so far, I couldn't put Chase above Jefferson, even though I wanted to, because based on what we know. And that's why I said Chase could, in a few years, could end up being number 4 or 5 on this list. But like Justin Jefferson right now, so talented. In terms of just straight talent, I have no qualms or reservations about putting him at 9. I think he could play at any era from 2000 on. He could hang with these big boys. Now, would he be as talented as the guys I have ahead of him? No, that's why I didn't put him at that high. But I have him. I think he's more talented than Reggie Wayne, more talented than Anquan Bolden, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm looking at. If I were to build a franchise moving forward right now, Justin Jefferson would be on my top 10.
All right.
PY is out of commission. It looks like
you had me until you said that last 50, 60. Like there's no. I mean, I don't have him on the list because I just need to see more. But even with that being said, I don't think he's more talented than Reggie Wayne or Anquan Bolden. And the reason why I say that is because in the era that they played in, I don't know if he can do what he did. Detroit Palomalu, Ed Reed, or Ty Law. I'm trying to think of another prime corner. Just from the physicality standpoint. If he gets a free release or shit, all day. Yeah. All day. But if he's getting pressed, I just don't know. And once again, I was going to bring this up, like maybe in no huddle or bring it up at some point, like what current wide receivers that we think we could see on this list in a couple of years. And he's definitely at that very, very top. Like I will put him in, if I'm doing 20 wide receivers, he's in that 20. Jamar Chase,
100%.
Jamar Chase is in that 20.
He's a bona fide he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's not
I think this is where I see his talent. And I get you because again,
I think you're just trying to make up for the Rager debacle. That's all. I just think you're trying to say.
No, I'm not.
We've all moved on from that. Come on, man.
Good times.
I would have. Justin Jefferson is so good again. And I base this off of what I see in terms of talent. And I think was he locked down by Slay and by Jair? Yes, but he also went off against everyone else.
Yeah,
and I think that he's still getting better and better. Him and Chase are going to be 1 and 2 for years. They're going to be the top
in the wild card game.
Huh?
What was his stats in a wild card game?
45 yards.
I don't know.
Is that what it was?
45 yards.
45. Okay.
So in 3 years in the NFL, he has 45 playoff yards.
Yeah. Now, okay. So do I have him a little high? Maybe I should bump him down. If you're talking about like the flaws that he has with physicality, so maybe I should bump him down to.
If Steve Smith Sr. was in front of your face right now and he saw your list,
you know what? I'm gonna say it on the fly. Then I'm gonna put Steve.
You can say whatever you want about Jamar Chase. You don't have to worry about with him. Prime time. When the lights are bright, that kid shines bright.
That is true. So you know what? I'll put Jamar Chase ahead of him.
I'm definitely with that.
I know Jake's smiling.
I think J Jet is closer to his ceiling versus Jamar.
Versus Jamar, yeah, that's exactly. So let's do that then. I will change it on the fly. See, I do listen. I'm open. I listen to you guys. I do listen to you guys. You guys literally literally changed my mind.
I'm lying. Like
you literally changed my mind.
God's gonna strike you down.
No, I'm open to changing my mind. Justin Jefferson originally was at 13 or 14, and then I moved him up because I was like, man, he's really talented though.
Let me just bump you up. Let me just.
Come on.
All right. Let me do my 8, and this might again. This part of my rankings is really questionable. So another juicy name here at 8 might spark more debate. I've got Julio Jones.
Okay. I thought I was going to be like really out of pocket.
Really?
Pete, do you have Julio?
He's 4, bro. No. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's 4 for me.
Okay. Jake.
I have him 6.
Okay. And then PY.
7.
Okay. So
kind of similar. Okay.
Pete is the highest. So we're.
Oh, I get it.
Me taking PY are similar-ish where we have him. In terms of physical ability, he's so good.
Yep.
But like, this is one of the biggest mysteries, guys. One of the biggest mysteries, and maybe you guys can talk me out of it and say and give reason why, because I don't know.
I think I know where you're going.
Why in the world did Julio Jones? How come he never was a great touchdown guy?
Yeah, I don't get it either.
4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Like outside of like the red zone, he was insanely good. But once you got into the red zone, I don't know what happened to him. Was some of it Matt Ryan? Sure, but like over his whole career, the touchdowns weren't there. Like I don't know. Like that's why I bumped.
He'd have like a crazy catch, and you'd get him down to like the 3-yard line. Like that's his whole career. Like burns a dude for 60 yards and is like at the 3 or the 5, and you're just like, really?
Yeah.
So he has close to 1,400 yards. Just guess how many touchdowns he has. Just guess.
Like 63 or something.
63. Yep, 63.
Yeah. He has like 14.
And for a guy like him, he should have more. I hear you.
Yeah, if you're looking again, I'm not trying to base it off of just stats, but like if you're looking at everyone I had ahead of them, like their touchdown numbers are massively higher than Julio.
And the only time he had double-digit touchdowns was his sophomore season, by the way.
Yeah.
And again, not shitting on the guy by any stretch. It's just
he's so
the numbers are what they are.
But like, and like there has to be after a while, like everyone was wondering, like, what is it about Julio where he can't score touchdowns? Like, what is it?
Weird.
It's so weird. It's one of the biggest mysteries, and that's why I had him as low as I did.
Because you say that, we'll just randomly sign him on a Tuesday, and he'll score like 8 touchdowns this year for no reason at all.
Pete, before you get into your rebuttal,
actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I have him flipped. I'm sorry. I can't remember. So Julio, I had 6.
You did have him at 6. Okay. Yeah, so then we all have him like
close.
How am I like the least crazy one this week? What is this?
this exercise.
It's a weird.
Shots is me this week. I don't know what's going on. I feel weird.
But I will say this: Julio. I want to say he got drafted in 2010.
He was drafted. His first season was 2011.
Yeah, so 2010.
Yeah,
it was the Browns trade.
No, 2011. Drafted in 2011. Then.
Yeah. That dude, that size, that speed, and that's why I say that I hear the touchdown shit, but then that's when you play stats into it because remember we're looking at all right, who we building a franchise around. If I'm this, I don't see these dudes do anything except for this. Just for their game tape in college. He's up there, like physical talent wise, bitch could do it all.
Because from 2014 to 2019,
and he was triple teamed sometimes.
Yeah. From 2014 to 2019, he had over 1,300 yards every year. Every year.
this is so I hear you on that. I think, Pete, if it was like a one-off, like every couple of seasons where he didn't have a lot of touchdowns, I would see that.
Mhm.
But when consistently touchdowns were never his thing, that's where I start to wonder, okay, is it the player? Am I looking at the player wrong?
Like, I guess
I
I'm
don't
saying,
know.
like, does his stat show he was tackled short? How many drops did he have in the end zone? Like,
Right.
what? I hear what you're saying, and that's valid to a point, but I need more data to say
Mhm.
what prevented him. Did he shy away from the moment? Did balls not come his way? Because
I know
we don't win Super Bowl 52 if the bitch can catch.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where, like, I know some of it was system, because remember when was it Sarkisian or something was the offensive coordinator, and it was horrible. So, like, I know for a couple of seasons the OC was the reason why he didn't get touchdowns. But again, it wasn't just 1 or 2 seasons where he didn't catch a bunch of touchdowns. It was his whole career almost consistently. And so I don't know. Like, I see what you're saying, but because I don't know, I don't know how to, what's the word? I don't know how to reconcile that in my head. Like, like, what is it about Julio where he can't score?
And the crazy thing is, he dropped the one against us in the divisional round, but the wild card round the week before, remember he had the game go ahead touchdown
against the Rams,
in the road. And they ran this. It was the same exact play. So, I mean, there's big moments. I don't know what his playoff stats are. I don't have that in front of me.
He played well in the Super Bowl, though.
He played great in the Super Bowl.
That doesn't bother me.
He got hurt.
You said, like, yo, I'm going to you. They know I'm going to you, and they still can't stop you.
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're right. I'm just sitting here thinking about specimen as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think in terms of specimen, I wanted to put him higher, but I think that's where, with the rest of the guys I have ahead of him, outside of maybe 1 or 2, the specimen talk is equal. Like, as in terms of physical ability, it's there, and that's why I have him lower at 8, because, like, the physical talent is equal as Julio's, but then, like, they have the stuff that he's lacking, so that's why he's at 8. He's really tough. Some stuff in the chat. So Joe Horakowski says, for real though, his rank would be 1 Moss, 2 T.O., 3 Calvin Johnson, 4 Larry Fitz, and 5 Marvin Harrison. And Dynasty 215 says top 5 for me would be Moss, T.O., Marvin, Tyreek Hill, and D-Hop. And then he says, only reason I had Hopkins so high is the fact he did it with garbage and constantly changing QBs, while most of these guys had that QB connection for multiple years, which is a fair point to make about someone really tough.
100%.
Yeah. Let me get, but while we're at the halfway point of the show, let's get into a commercial break with a commercial from Philly Sports Trip. If I can freaking find it. Oh, there you go. All right. Philly Sports Trips. Listen to them. Check it out.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
So make sure, if you are looking to get on the road at one of those Eagles away games, hit up Philly Sports Trips. They're the best in the business when it comes to getting on those away games for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Number 7 for me. I'm constantly playing catch up with you guys. This is the last juicy one, but if you know me, you shouldn't be surprised. I've got Tyreek at 7.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Hell yeah, I do.
That's fine.
Fastest player in the history of the league. that speed would have translated to any era. I don't give a crap.
No,
I don't give a
100%.
crap. Especially 20 years ago when they aren't as athletic as they are now. You're telling me Tyreek Hill wouldn't be running by those guys? He absolutely would. Tyreek Hill, 7. You're not dealing with that speed. You're not dealing with that speed. Now, this is all pending the criminal charges. Nothing has been put in cement. So if these criminal charges are really bad, then he's going to be bumped down this list. But as of right now, June 22nd, we don't know anything.
I don't know. There's a lot of characters done with him. He should be bumped down a few spots. I'm just saying. Everything he's done is as bad, if not worse, than Antonio.
No, PY, you want me to be honest? If it wasn't for character stuff, he would probably be 4 or 5.
Oh.
So that's why I bumped him down to 7. So there's your rebuttal for you.
That's not a rebuttal. That's just me shaking my head at your
He's
foolishness.
the fastest wide receiver we've seen.
He's just
He's so fast. There's no stopping him in any era. I don't care. There's no stopping him. There's no stopping him.
well. The thing is too, with how he's built, also he can take a hit. Like they're as compact as he is. Like there's no receiver that's as fast as he is and built like he is.
Yeah, it's
he's literally just like he's. I'm taking the word from Doug Martin, but he's a muscle hamster.
Yeah,
that's what he is. He's a muscle
line up
hamster.
as a running back. Like he could line up as a running back. That's what he did early in his career. It's insane. Like Tyreek Hill is, if you want to talk in terms of talent, you cannot convince me he shouldn't be in this range. He's at 7. He's low at 7 for me because of the character issues. He could be higher if it weren't for character issues. And you cannot convince me otherwise. You cannot, because that speed is translatable to any era.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, once it's in your head, there's no tricking you otherwise.
Yeah. So that's my 7. So I'm assuming none of you had Tyreek Hill.
No.
So I can move on. Okay.
No.
Unless if you have a rebuttal to my rant, because
No, I mean, based on how can I say it? Like, obviously, physical elite, but it's kind of one of like what Dynasty said, right? He said he put Hopkins so high because of the garbage shit, the garbage QBs he had. Listen, I can't say the same about Tariq.
Nope. Said Jesus.
He got maybe arguably, when it's all said and done, one of the top 3 best quarterbacks that's ever played the game.
Jesus Christ, throw them the football.
And Andy Reid, F up Andy Reid.
But
I'm not taking away. I'm not taking it away from him.
He
But
just had the best season statistically of his career.
True.
Without Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in Miami, good system. But look at his quarterback. So you can't. If this was last year going into his season with the Dolphins, I'd hear you on that. But you can't make that argument and saying, because he's had Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid his whole year, but that he has the best season of his career without them. You can't make that argument. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
So it's also crazy too. It's a little fun fact. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle combined for over 3,000 yards last year. That's insane.
And honestly, I'm gonna go out on the record here and say this now. I would not be surprised if Waddle has more yards than Tyreek Hill this year.
Possibly.
I mean, if he misses time and
No. I'm talking about both these bitches playing all 17.
You think Jalen Waddle has a higher ceiling than Tyreek?
I think Waddle. I'm telling you, I'm looking at that mixed race coach they got down there. He has something up his sleeve, brother.
I think Jalen Waddle is extremely talented. I don't think he's high.
I mean, but that's the thing also. But we're just talking about stats. Teams could try to start to do something more to roll Tyreek Hill. More coverage his way. Where obviously Waddle's going to have more advantageous looks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, PY, who do you have at 6?
He don't know.
No, I do know. No, I do know. I just need a second. I'm sorry, guys.
Go ahead.
You okay? All right. You want me to go?
Yeah, can you go? I just need a minute.
Okay. Let's see. My number 6. Talk about a guy that I would absolutely love to build a franchise with, because he could be the best character guy on this list. That's Larry Fitz. Pete, where do you have Larry Fitz?
At 6?
5.
Yeah. 5.
Wow. Okay.
Jake, where do you have him?
I have him at 3. I have him 3.
And then PY, do you have him? Can he talk?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm all right. Thanks, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're good.
You're good. You're good. Take your time. Where do you have Larry Fitz?
I have him at 4.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's Larry Legend, man. Like, come on.
But to say, I will say this. At any point in time in Larry
make you
Fitzgerald's
cry.
career, was he ever regarded as the number 1 wide receiver in the game?
I don't.
As good
from what I
as he
remember,
is.
From what I remember, I think some people considered him, but I don't think he would. He was.
Yeah,
ever
he was never like without a
the
doubt.
consensus. Yeah, I
number
don't think he was
one.
ever
Right,
consensus
yeah.
number 1.
Still mad he's not an Eagle.
Well, yeah, I know.
And then if
That's
you
a
go
fair
back
point.
and you just look at 2000, how many games were played by wide receivers? He's played the most by
Yeah.
far.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
263.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now again, we go into the whole conversation similar with
Stats. And,
Holden. Like, does that longevity go against him or is that for him?
Mhm.
I think you can see it either way.
Right.
I think Larry Fitz's consistency and dependability, someone you could rely on for that long,
Yep.
and how he was able to transition to the slot, you know,
Yeah.
and being that big slot for the Cardinals when he was starting to be on the downturn of his career, that extended his career for so long. So that's a huge plus in his favor. This from 4 to 6 was so close. So Larry Fitz, someone I love cheering for, probably the best character guy here, but he's at 6 because he's just not as talented as the other 4.
Okay.
Or 5. I'm sorry, he's just not as talented. I probably the best hands out of everyone, but
Yeah.
like, athleticism wasn't there. Not as explosive. So like I had to put him down a notch because of that.
That's
Again,
fair.
If you're looking at who was the better player, Andre Johnson was a better player than Larry Fitz. I say that confidently. But Larry Fitz was able to play on good teams.
And also played a lot in the slot too.
And a lot in the slot. Yep. So that's why I have him. Jake, I don't know if you want to add because you have him highest.
I mean,
It's out, so
yeah, it's to. I mean, it's to your point. He was consistent for what was it, 16 years? Like 16 years, he was always productive. I mean, his last year, I get it. It was his last year, but reliable hands. Whenever it went to him, you knew he was going to get it, regardless of whatever. Like, and it's just. I think to your point, you brought up a good point, Chucks, with the Anquan Bolden thing. It's like the consistency. He's done it forever, but it just the guy's hands were ridiculous, and he did it for just such a long time, where you knew he was going to get his numbers regardless, especially against the Eagles.
Anytime he played the Birds, you knew he was getting at least $150 and a couple TDs.
yeah, just like Martian said, it was like one of the guarantees. You know how like we guarantee Boston Scott's going to score a touchdown against the Giants?
Yep.
We
Yeah.
could guarantee Larry Fitz was going to score a touchdown against them.
Yeah, he's
I'm
either gonna
still
score or get
mad at the
100.
lockdown because if it's any other year, Fitz is an Eagle, and then we win the Super Bowl in 08.
The Marquis says now Larry was underrated.
I wouldn't say underrated, but
Philly Sports with Bake says Larry might be the only person that wasn't Eagle. I was generally sad didn't win a Super Bowl. Yeah,
yeah,
I want him to win a bowl.
Larry's just amazing. Like he's just like
Larry's
on the field,
nice.
off the field. You knew you were getting A+ performance.
Well, he's the definition of a franchise guy. That's what you want from a franchise player. That's it.
P, you were gonna say something?
I'm reserving myself for who this guy has at number 4, and there's no fucking way that
I knew he wasn't gonna
Terrell
like
for
this one.
3. Oh, I'm doing my
Okay.
best.
Well, we got one more gap to fill, or one or two of them before we get to
Thankfully, I have my inhaler in case Chucks takes my breath away with his final 4 picks.
PY. Who you got?
Who do I have at 6? Dun dun dun. No, it's Marvin Harrison
Okay.
all day. Talk about professionalism. Talk about
Hold on. Jake, where do you have Marvin?
5. Number 5.
Pete, where do you have Marvin?
4.
I got Marvin at 4.
Okay.
You were wanting to know who was my 4. That's my 4. I don't know.
No, not yours.
Oh,
Are you me?
This fucker down. This fucker down here.
I thought you were talking about that.
No.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So, all right, PY, now go ahead. You're skinny on Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison, he's just amazing. Like, obviously, Reggie Wayne was great when he played, but like Marvin Harrison was like the blueprint. Like, you get to play with Peyton Manning. You have to have his trust. You have to have the IQ. You have to understand the system. You have to do everything in that offense. And Marvin Harrison, it personified everything what it meant to be a Colt, to be a leader, to be that next level thinker and next level wide receiver. The man had hands.
Mm-hmm.
He could catch probably 2-3 balls in the goddamn hurricane. Like that's just who he was. Like in every game, that's what you were getting. They're not taking games off with Marvin Harrison. Like I just love him. Like I just
Yeah. Jake, you have him the lowest out of us. So I don't want to say that, like, you know,
he doesn't have the lowest. PY has the lowest.
PY has the lowest.
Yeah, he has the lowest.
Yeah. So okay, so Jake and Pete, like, what is anything to add to Marvin?
Listen, these fucking two below me. I swear to goodness, I've never felt. How in the hell, God's green earth, do you have AB ranked above Marvin Harrison? And Jake, Jacob, you know what you did.
I know what I was looking for my dunce cap. That's what I was looking
know
for.
What you
my
did.
Dunce cap.
I'm waiting. I'm just waiting till
he knows what it is. We all know what it is.
My God,
we all know what it is.
Well,
I would say Jake's saving grace is the fact that if his 4 is who I think it is, kind of can see a point. But if it's the other one, who I had one of my top 2, oh no.
Oh God, Pete's about to have a conniption. What I will say about Marvin now, like I kind of hinted at it when we talked about Reggie. I know Marvin played with Peyton. Okay, so he played with a great QB. But the thing is, exactly what PY said. Playing with Peyton is very difficult because you have to be on the same page. And they had like one mind. When you think about a QB wide receiver duo,
it's up there.
Peyton and Marvin probably are like top 2 or 3. If not one. It could be 1 or 2. You know what I mean? So like that duo was as in sync as any duo in the history of the NFL. And Marvin, I think, whereas I don't think Reggie was as talented as some of the guys that I listed, I think Marvin was. Marvin was that talented. Like, who is he? He could be the best route runner we've ever seen. Like, he could be. He had incredible hands. Yep. Incredible hands. Ultra smart. Not a diva. So, like, the talent was there. The intangibles were there. The mind was there. And the stats are there. So, like, I love route runners who can, I said before, it's an art. So like when you are that elite at route running and you have those hands and you have the smarts, you're going to be high up on the list. And Marvin Harrison quietly did it. And what's funny is during my research, I came across, remember when they used to do the NFL Network top 10 and then it would be ranking different categories, right? They had the top 10 wide receivers of the 2000s, right? And at number 1, they had Marvin Harrison over Randy Moss, over T.O. And the justification was that like Marvin was just a quiet assassin. Like he came in, no drama, no divaness, just came in, did his work, and produced. And even though I do disagree, that's a fair point as to why I have him at number 4, because he came in and did his work, and the talent was absolutely there. So that's why I have him. Jake, I don't know if you want to add anything.
And I'm not comparing the two, but also to add to your point, a very similar build to one Devontae Smith. Very similar builds.
I think Marvin was bigger by a little bit, but yeah.
He had like 10 pounds on him, but but back then Marvin was considered skinny for his position. Like, oh, he's real small, and people were like, I don't know, but we know how it turned out for him.
Yep. Philly sports with big Marvin Harrison Jr. has a chance to be just like his dad. That's the hope.
He might be to be honest, he might be better.
He could. He could.
Like coming out of college, he's better than his dad.
What's up?
He's bigger too, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
bigger.
He's much bigger.
Yeah. Marquis says Marvin Harrison might be the first former player whose son might be better than him. No, there was just players whose
sons were better.
We're talking about Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
That's the first one to come to mind.
Peyton Manning. That's
Peyton
a good,
better than Archie.
Yeah, but Archie probably could have been like a Hall of Famer on any other team. Like if he wasn't stuck to the Saints, he's probably a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're still talking about Peyton. He was still better.
No, he is, but like I think they're talking like that much better. Like a little bit is like, you know.
But you're saying he's like an all-timer already.
Yeah, like Archie Manning was already like an amazing quarterback and like fringe Hall of Famer. Like Peyton's a GOAT, but like
I think Marquise is saying like a Hall of Famer son who has a chance to be back. I don't know any other Hall of Famer
that was
better. That is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
right, the dad is a Hall of Famer where the son can be on that track. I get what PY is saying too, but Archie is in the Hall of Fame.
When you phrase it that way, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, Jake. Let us. So,
man,
Pete's been in agonizing pain to see who you have at 4.
Yeah.
So am I.
Who is your 4, Mister?
Megatron.
Fucking shit. God damn.
I knew that was coming.
Have you not learned anything?
No, I know.
Oh,
can't teach a dog new tricks.
No, don't get me wrong. I get it. I totally get it.
PY, where do you have Calvin?
3.
Pete, where do you have Calvin?
1B. Shit, 2.
2?
You have him 2, really?
No.
He fucking runs laps around T.O. Bro.
Yo, you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. I will go through this goddamn computer.
Calvin does that too. Amen, brother. Amen.
Oh my God.
Laps around T.O., bro.
They're on the sea of wrong up here. We're on the sea of right down here, Jake. I've never been so happy to be on the bottom.
No. First of all, let's Jake go first. How in the world do you have Larry Fitzgerald above Calvin Johnson?
It's the longevity thing. And don't get me wrong, I get it. I totally get it. For what Calvin did compared to all these other wide receivers that are on the list, he's had a much shorter career than a lot of these guys. But
he left because they sucked.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, like, him is just I can't think of another wide receiver that was built and did what he did.
4.38.
And what was he, 6?
When I said Andre Johnson was the prototypical X receiver, until Calvin Johnson, Megatron came along, and this is even to this day, this is the prototypical perfect mold of an X wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think there's 6'5" guys. 6'5",
and he ran what, a 4.3, a 4.3.
My God, sub 4.4. He was fast, and he could run routes.
And I love how people try and compare like DK, and they're saying like, oh, he's the next Calvin. No, he's not Calvin. He's not Calvin.
There will never be another.
No, there will never be another.
Calvin Johnson.
The closest thing was Julio, and that ain't it.
No,
because 135 games, 11,619 yards, 83 touchdowns.
I want to continue this conversation by comparing. So, because Martian says one thing we won't have is disrespect T.O. Yes, we will. So let me start it off. I have T.O. at number 3. Pete, you have?
He's definitely number 3. It's no disrespect. It's just,
where do you have T.O.?
I have him 2.
2. P.Y., you have T.O. at 1, don't you?
No. See, you know what? That's what happens when you goddamn assume.
Okay. All right.
You look at the egg on your face.
I will
Egg.
If we were talking about who was the better player and encompassing everything,
Just talent
you
in and of
cannot
itself.
tell
Yeah.
me that you cannot tell me that Calvin Johnson wasn't a better player. Calvin Johnson is a better player than T.O.
Okay.
He had better intangibles, better character. Like he's T.O. The reason why if I were to build a franchise, I would absolutely have Calvin Johnson over T.O. is because T.O. would ruin my team after 2 years. He's done it every single place he's gone. So why would I want someone like that on my team if he's going to obliterate the team after a couple years? The character, again, it comes up when I'm making them on my list, and Calvin Johnson had character out the wazoo. Yeah. So, like, it was easy for me to put Calvin Johnson over T.O. Easy.
I hear you.
Easy. Pete, I know me and you are in agreement once again. So, what? I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, listen, man. My man went out in 2015, which had 88 catches, 1,214 yards, 9 touchdowns. And said, "All right, I'm walking away." He literally played.
I'm out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Come on, guys. We're this close to him in 2017. Don't you remember?
Dude, I listen.
If he was on a different franchise, he would have. I think he still would have been playing.
I get the longevity and all that shit with Fitz. But Fitz almost played double them. Calvin Johnson played 135. Fitz had 263, and Calvin Johnson still almost had 12,000 yards. If you just give him 200, he's the greatest wide receiver of all time. If he wants to play, he would be better than Randy Moss. He would be arguably better than Jerry Rice if he wanted to continue to play.
Yep.
He decided to walk away.
Go ahead. No, if anyone were to come up to me and say, "Hey, I think talent-wise, they think Calvin Johnson is the most talented wide receiver ever to play a game," I would not argue with him. There's no way I would argue with him because Calvin Johnson, this is why, like, I'm sorry, Don, but this is why I think I'll always be upset with the Lions, because not only did they waste probably the most talented wide receiver ever played the game, did they waste his career? They wasted the career of the running back GOAT, who we will get. No, we won't get into because he played in the 90s. But the running back GOAT, Barry Sanders. Like, you wasted his career and forced Barry Sanders to retire because you sucked so bad. You wasted 2 generational talents. Two. That's unconscionable.
Unconscionable.
Yeah,
unconscionable.
Calvin Johnson is the Barry Sanders of wide receiver. He is.
Yes.
I want to know who they're ruining next.
Who are they ruining next?
I do. Like, that's my claim to fame with the Lions is that, like, no matter what they say, it's like, even if they haven't won a playoff game since '93, and I can trash them on that, they also made Calvin Johnson retire, and they made
Barry retire.
They made Barry retire. Like, screw you and your loser franchise. Like, dude, whatever the Eagles have done, you know what? They didn't make 2 of the greatest, like, professional football players of all time retire because of how much they suck donkey balls.
Well, okay, so Jake and PY, you both had Megatron below.
Explain yourself.
So explain.
Explain nothing.
I think Jake knows already.
Oh no, I knew it as soon as As soon as I started creeping up, I'm like, well, I'll bite the bullet on this one. I'll take the L. But it's already there. I can't change it now. So
yeah, you can. I changed mine.
So PY, what in what world does T.O. What does he do better than Calvin Johnson?
Oh my God!
You know what, Chuck's flip mine for the.
There you go.
Larry and Calvin. Flip mine for Larry and Calvin. But T.O., I'll argue with you. I'll argue T.O.
PY, you moving a whole lot. You say I hear a whole lot of side and shit, but you're not saying nothing.
No, you're not saying anything because
I mean, to be fair, I'm trying to bring up the courage to restore the rest of my lungs to give me thoughts. Like, to be fair, like I'm kind of hurt.
I mean, he was in Philly green. I get that, but
everywhere he went, he was a game changer. I understand he broke shit up. Like, I get that. I understand that. There's no one who understands that more than me. Everywhere he went, he was a Pro Bowler. Everywhere he went, he was like 1,000-yard receiver.
Why was he going?
Everywhere he went,
Why was he going?
I understand that.
Do you think Calvin Johnson wouldn't have been a game changer wherever he went?
I'm not saying he would. I'm not saying he wasn't.
Okay.
I'm just saying that for T.O. was just, I think, better. I may be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but I love Calvin Johnson. I think he's amazing. I think he's one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. But like the limitedness in his play in the 2000s, I think holds him a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit.
But all right, so I hear you, right? Calvin Johnson had 135 games. Guess how many more games do you think T.O. played than Calvin Johnson?
He probably played like what, 200 more?
22.
22? Okay, there you go.
157. So it wasn't that much more than Calvin Johnson at all. I get what you. I think what happens is T.O. is more flamboyant. He's more out there. And this. I'm gonna use this as well because this is also 2 strikes against PY. The fucking reason he got Antonio Brown in front of Marvin Harris is a fucking travesty.
Yeah, that's
but remember when we talked about Antonio Brown, he said he was must see TV.
Mm-hmm.
PY likes that up front. Up front.
I like a dog. That's what I do. I like a dog.
It's not so much a dog. You like the flamboyancy. You like that diva shit. And you would have that if you like that and you want that catch run and do the Sharpie and do all that shit to stand on the star. Calvin Johnson ain't gonna do it. Listen, I'll say it like this: T.O. is T.O. Cool nickname is just his fucking nickname is Megatron. Megatron, one of the greatest villains in every fictional anything that you can name. Megatron. And when you hear
he's a good guy now, you need to get your facts correct.
That doesn't. Calvin Johnson, the catch rule. We all remember the Bears catching over top of people. Don't get me wrong, we got T.O. He had the catch from Steve Young over the middle wild card round. That was in the fucking 90s. That wasn't in the 2000s. Sorry.
How about 135 yards on one freaking leg where he had to sign a goddamn waiver to play in the Super Bowl? Where's that stat?
And what did he do after that?
He asked his quarterback to help him get paid after playing on one freaking leg while he was throwing up in the Super Bowl.
And then what did he do?
That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback, man.
Teammate.
I gotta go break out my T.O. jersey. This is ridiculous.
T.O.
T.O.
has his fair share of fault in what happened. They both.
100%. Yeah,
they both do.
It's on Donovan and it's on
90% Don, 10% T.O.
No. T.O. and Donovan to me always shared equal blame as well.
It's both.
Always had
no, Pete. It's both of them.
Because it's both of them. Because
I gave him a percentage.
And as bad as T.O. was on the field, guess what? He don't got no fucking DUIs. I could tell you that. Donovan's character off the field since he stopped playing has showed you
exactly
what he was like behind the doors. But even with that being said, it's still to me 50-50. I would say this: if it's 5 seconds left on the clock, you at the 15-yard line, you gotta get in to win the Super Bowl. And you got to draw a play up. Who you got more confident in coming down with that ball? Calvin Johnson or T.O.?
T.O.
Calvin also has a huge height advantage.
Yeah.
I'm going to Calvin.
Lord, you just sometimes you get into the water, Lord. You can't make him drink. I don't know. Father, forgive him.
I gotta go.
What was T.O.'s one Achilles heel? Drops.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ton of drops.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took Pete's question scenario, if it's one play,
right,
I'm gonna go with someone who doesn't have drop issues and is 2 inches taller and is a freaking freak. Now again, like in terms of like physical ability, it's so close.
It's very close.
Gifted, physically physically able wide receivers to ever play the game. I'm factoring talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Calvin Johnson was just a little bit better as a player in terms of talent.
Now, to piggyback off the whole T.O. and Donovan thing, I've said this for years. I'll say it till I'm in the grave because I believe it that much. If that whole situation never happened where those two beefed with each other, I think we win at least 1 or 2.
Yes.
There's no doubt in my mind. I think we win at least one or two.
1,000%. 1,000%. And I think that, you can't. I think it's also you're looking at it from T.O. color glasses if you're saying, oh, it was all Donovan's fault.
No.
When there's evidence of multiple times that T.O. has gone to teams and broken up the team.
Right.
You cannot tell me that T.O. wasn't to blame on the Eagles when he's done it with several teams.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. And if you want to look at it too, they were both interviewed not too long ago about the fiasco, I think by Bleacher Report.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And T.O. still has not let it go.
Mm-hmm.
T.O.
He hasn't let it go. Like, he hadn't talked about it in a while, and all of a sudden McNabb just randomly brought it up.
T.Y., how old is T.O. right now?
If they're the same age as Donovan. Like, oh.
Wait. I'm not taking blame from Donovan. I'm saying both of them are immature. They haven't let it go.
100%.
And that's
100%.
why I don't like either of them, because how old are you guys now? You're in your 40s?
Almost 50, yeah.
Let this go? Like, this is...
But is he not supposed to comment? Like, that's my whole thing. Like, if you're trying to let it go and someone's coming to you, it's like, oh, did you hear what Donovan said?
You can comment, but he still, in his interviews, whenever he talks about it, he still says he has no blame.
Mm-hmm.
That is immaturity. Sorry, it just is. It's immaturity. And if I'm building a team, I don't want someone with that type of attitude on my team. Okay, I just don't, especially not over, specifically not over Calvin Johnson.
Right.
Not over Calvin Johnson.
Now, the only thing, the biggest thing McNabb did is he talked about his money. Like, he talked about his pocket. But I've always felt that way about McNabb. I've always felt like he was disingenuous.
Yeah.
But at the same time, T.O. at that point could have handled it a different way.
Yes, that's exactly.
And also, hold up, PY. Also, on top of that, after that, you go right to the same team for the reason why you don't have her, because it was fucking Roy Williams.
Yeah,
you went and played for them. That was your next team, the Dallas Cowboys. That was your very next team.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you got to sit here, for one, what I ain't gonna finna do is speak up for a grown man.
No.
These are two grown men. Get it the fuck together. If
Right.
you want to talk about it, I'm not gonna do that. You feel what I'm saying?
But to real quick, Martian brings up a good point also. He's like, I'm telling you, McNabb was at fault here. He was bad mouthing Deshaun and was supposed to be a leader. Yeah, that's another thing for sure.
McNabb, not a good leader. He never was a good leader.
This is why not the only reason, but like a big reason why I've never even been a McNabb fan, because of his ego.
Loser.
His ego is huge. So
ego.
I am not absolving Donovan McNabb from what happened, but exactly what Pete nailed it on the head. McNabb should have supported him, should have vouched for T.O.
Yep.
But T.O. should have handled it so differently.
Mm-hmm.
The immaturity from both of them showed in that whole thing, the whole episode.
I'll throw this out there. I'm like, so let's say Jalen Hurts is his quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of this happen? In my opinion, will always be no, because Jalen is enough of a leader, of a gentleman, and a great teammate. He's going to do everything he can to get his guy paid and make him feel the love and respect.
No, and I tell you why. He wouldn't, because this is the problem with T.O. T.O. thought he was bigger than the quarterback.
Right.
T.O. wanted to be the face of the franchise. And I'm going to tell you another reason why Jalen wouldn't have to do shit, because other people on the team would have spoke up for Jalen.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Donovan had nobody. It showed you what it was, because nobody else from the team went to go handle the situation. But with all that being said, he's still a fucking subpar wide receiver compared to Calvin Johnson. I don't give a shit.
Subpar. You're being out of pocket right now.
If he's 3 and Calvin Johnson is 2, he's not as good as Calvin Johnson.
Stop. Like, if you want to say it's like a close gap, like I'm fine with that. Subpar my ass, sir.
So
they're both phenomenal receivers, regardless.
To PY's question, would the same scenario have happened? No. But I think T.O. would have acted the same way the minute something happened, because that's who he is.
Yep.
That's who he is. He would have reacted the minute there's something wrong, a bit of controversy, a little bit of drama. T.O. would have acted up. He did it constantly.
Well,
So it
Yeah, but
doesn't
was
matter.
he really
Like,
doing it on the Birds until McNabb made it a problem? Like, he was
but
he
fine.
did it everywhere, Pete. He did it
in
everywhere.
San Fran with a
He
Hall
did
of
it.
Fame
Yeah,
quarterback.
he did it everywhere.
yeah,
It didn't
That's
matter.
like-
It didn't matter where it
That's
was.
who he is.
it is. It just is. It is.
And with all that being said, it still has nothing to do with how he was as a wide receiver for this list.
Right. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
He's still a diva.
Yeah.
He's still out here trying to race Tariq Hill.
I mean, that's just fun. That's just good, clean fun.
So with T.O.,
And he fighting Karens. God bless him.
So I know we've been criticizing him. I will say this: he's number 3. I wanted because I'm not a fan of his character. I wanted so bad to put him lower, but I couldn't because
But you have Tyreek Hill at 7 with all his character issues.
Because I don't think Tyreek is as good as a player as T.O. and Marvin and Andre. I'm being consistent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you are.
with T.O., he has immaturity issues. But I will say this: he is this high because one, we all know his on-field ability, right? But his work ethic is also elite. So he has elite work ethic. Like you talk about, I've listened to B West and a lot of the other players from that time who played with T.O. and they said when T.O. got there, their practice habits skyrocketed because T.O. at practice would practice in ways that were
a game to him.
He's a hard worker. He comes in, does his job. He never got in trouble with the law. So I will give him credit. Again, I'm giving him credit for what he was, and that's why I have him.
Support, but that's about it.
But I can't put him over Calvin Johnson. I just can't. Again,
We still haven't forgiven the Desperate Housewives. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Marshall Lynch's Tyreek over Julio is beyond wild. No, it's really
I'm not involved.
Really not, because again, Tyreek has generational speed and Julio can't score touchdowns. So, yeah. All right. So we all know who number 1 is on the list. Yeah. So we'll say just a quick thing as I fill it in. Whoever wants to go and say a quick thing about Randy Moss and why he's number 1, go ahead.
He's great at mooning people.
It's just, again, going to prototypical wide receiver. He's it.
Yep.
You want to go Calvin Johnson, Terrell Owens, Larry, whatever way you want to go. You want to talk about a prototypical, not worrying about anything off the field. The guy just loves football.
Whoa.
He's just he was a freak. He was a freak.
Yeah, I don't think that Moss is your prototypical receiver. I think that what he did well was the most dominant trait we've seen in a wide receiver ever. Like there's no way you're guarding him deep.
No, you can't.
That's why somebody had said it earlier in the show that Tyreek Hill's the best teacher. I was like, no, he's not. Randy Moss is.
Randy Moss is. He's Tyreek is the fastest, but Randy Moss is the best teacher.
Randy Moss is the Usain Bolt of the NFL. Somebody that big who knows his strike that can just get open and blow by. And we never.
Tyreek.
It's just ridiculous, dude.
Yeah,
that 2007 to 2008 season. Fucking ridiculous.
It's insane. It's insane. Tyreek is faster than Randy Moss, but Randy, because he has that size and those ball skills, he's able to high point catches and he can be triple teamed. We've seen it. He's being triple teamed. Like how many wide receivers on this list can be triple teamed and still come down with it? I think it's 2 people. I think it's Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson.
That's it.
That
is it.
I think you could put Julio on there because his whole career is nothing but triple teams, man.
I don't know. Not as a consistent basis as Randy and Calvin. I think, I don't think that's consistent. But
and they brought this up too when we asked the question. Timothy Hitchhiker says Jerry Rice, and then Joseph Horakowski, Birds of a Feather Weekly. He has a seat here. He says it. I mean, it's in the 2000s, so it's not. I can't. Just because you played in the 2000s, I can't say
you can't. Yeah,
since 2000, because if we're taking that into consideration, Chris Carter would have been on this list as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's what you did. Yeah, that's what you did.
You see what I'm saying? Chris Carter would have definitely been on this list as well.
Yeah, if you want to count the whole career going into the 100%.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I think, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but if we do this list and Jerry Rice is included, and we're just talking about talent, as far as what we would build a franchise around, Jerry Rice may not be number 1.
He might not be number 1.
He might not.
It may not change.
Yeah, he might not be number one. It's a good. It's a similar. I'm not gonna say like it's exact, but it's similar to the argument when you talk about greatest and talent and most talented with the quarterback position. We all know Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Is he the most talented wide receiver to play? I mean, quarterback to ever play the game? No, he's not the most talented, but he's the greatest because of what he was able to do and stuff outside of talent. And same thing with Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice changed the game. He did things production wise over his career that are arguably no wide receiver probably will ever be able to do. But in terms of talent, he wasn't as talented as some of these guys. Like they're in another stratosphere over Jerry Rice. But I'm saying that as Jerry Rice is one of the players that I first started watching when I watched football. It was Jerry Rice and Barry Sanders. They were my two favorite players when I started watching football as a kid. And so like I love Jerry Rice, but he's not as talented as these guys.
Yeah. Right. And that's also kind of, I mean, Jerry Rice his longevity was crazy.
Oh,
his work ethic, how he took care of his body.
Let's see, his career spanned from 1985 to 2004.
20 years.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's insane.
So, Marquise, who would you? So, if you're doing your list, who are you gonna have? You gonna have Deion Branch on this motherfucker?
Yeah, right.
Who you gonna have?
I think it's also like a testament. I've said this for a long time because people want to like disrespect the running back position. It's like, oh, you don't need one to win a Super Bowl. Like, do you need a generational wide receiver to win a Super Bowl?
This list definitely proves you.
No, you don't need.
You just need a white slot receiver. You're good.
Pretty much.
I mean, like,
pretty much.
Being honest.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Oh, God.
But I mean, yeah, look at Alshon and look at Torrey Smith. Like, they were really good, but they weren't like the elite of the elite or anything like that.
You don't need one. Having one helps. It absolutely helps.
You need it at the quarterback. I would say this, and
100%.
In my lifetime, well, not my lifetime. I say in the last 10 years, I actually think you have it. I think you have generational talent now. Speaking of Marley QQ's comment, I think you have it in Lane Johnson. I think you have it in Jason Kelsey. You don't have it in the positions that are the flashiest, but you have it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
because I think both of those guys are first ballot Hall of Famers in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't
the
understand.
Closest thing as far as skill positions that you've had it to, and we only saw it one season. But after that 2017 season, I was like, yo, this dude Carson Wentz has a chance to be the best quarterback in the league.
Mm-hmm.
That's the level he played at, and then obviously we saw shit hit the fan.
Right.
But outside of that, I don't know. But also, outside of the quarterback, what's the last time a team has won the Super Bowl and arguably didn't have one of, if not the best or top 3 player in the league at their position, generational?
Exactly.
You're gonna say the LA Rams, right? They had Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a top 10 defensive player of all time already.
Are you not including QBs? You're talking about outside QBs.
I'm just saying in general.
In general.
I can't think the last time a team won the Super Bowl and didn't have generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we won the Super Bowl, it's just not where you would think to look at it.
Right, yeah.
Yep. They elevate. They absolutely elevate. It's just, I think that it's skewed to think like, oh, you need wide receiver. No, you need wide receivers in terms of you need a lot of them now because of the wide receiver position. You tried out 3 or 4 wide receivers at a time.
That's your base.
Do you need an elite wide receiver at the top? No, you don't need one. But it helps.
Yeah.
It helps. It absolutely helps.
Fuck, we just lost to a team we didn't have one. The fuck?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
You literally just lost to a team in the Super Bowl that didn't have a quote unquote elite wide receiver.
I don't think any of the wide receivers you can consider are top 25 wide receivers in the game.
No. Nope.
No. I mean, you got one of the top tight ends. It's that coach and that QB.
Yeah. As long as they have those 3, they'll be good for however long they all want to.
And I think Yeah, and I think this goes to show, guys, like what I've always said. And remember, Nate like argued to death with me over this, but I think it just goes to show there's no one way to win a Super Bowl.
No.
There's no one blueprint. Like there's different ways you can win the Super Bowl, and it changes over time. Like with the eras changing and the game changing as it is, the way you construct your team and your roster to win a Super Bowl can be different. Like can be so many different ways. So I think that's shown. You don't have to. People always say, "Oh, defense wins championships."
Not anymore.
Not anymore. You don't need a top defense. You just need a defense to make plays when they need to.
Right. You need a timely defense.
Timely defense. Now, if you have a truly elite defense like the 2000 Ravens, the 2013 Broncos, 2002 Bucks, like those defenses, then obviously like the rest of your team on offense that makes up for any what you lack there. So it absolutely helps. Like, and you having an elite defense is amazing, but you don't need a defense to win a championship.
Every team that's won since 16 have been an offensive power team. Like even though the Bucks had good defense, they still had an elite offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Marquis says only wide receiver with excuse in my opinion is Calvin Johnson, aka Megatron, who played in Detroit when they were hot garbage. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of say the same thing about Steve Smith too. I mean, go through his quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Andre Johnson, go through the quarterbacks. I mean, it is what it is. But when you speak about timely defense, the reason why we didn't win the Super Bowl is because the Kansas City Chiefs made one play.
Play, yeah, exactly.
They called that. They called that blitz at the right time, right spot to the right play call. Jalen can't handle the ball, gives him 7, changes the whole game.
If Isaac Seumalo doesn't get that false start,
if Miles Sanders gets that extra yard.
No.
It's a whole microcosm of different things. But
it's a bunch of different things.
Yeah, one thing you can't say when we've been doing these rankings for the last 4 or 5 weeks, fam, is we've been preaching. It's not about stats. It's about talent. And we knew going into this one, we were going to leave people off the list. This is so. Anytime you go back
so hard,
more than 10, more than 15 years, and you get more than 20 in how the game has evolved and the evolution of the game, it's tough. It's tough. I think that what we have is it 2023 running backs next week?
2023 running backs, yeah.
Okay. So it's just Chucks and Marcus talking, right? I'm not. Why do I have to give any opinion next week?
You don't have to come in next week if you don't want to.
Save your lungs.
If you really don't want to come on, you don't have to twist my leg and force me to tell you not to come on.
The Marquis says that he has a good point. He has a good point on his last couple comments.
Oh my God, AJ Green was another one. Like I was just
but like we said,
we really gonna leave him off. Like
I left off Isaac Bruce. I left another sneaky one. He came up 1 yard short. If you ever give me the name, he came up 1 yard short in the Super Bowl.
Isaac Bruce was so good
with Tennessee. And what was the wide receiver's name?
Dyson. No.
George.
Crap.
I think it actually was. It wasn't Dyson. It wasn't the player I'm not talking about is Dyson, but I think he was on the same team.
Kevin Dyson. No. God damn.
No, you're right. So the player I'm talking about is Derek Mason.
Derek Mason. Okay.
Mason.
Derek Mason. Yep. There you go. Dyson.
That's another sneaky one. These are, and once again, I think wide receivers now are highlighted more because the evolution of the game.
Yes.
You can see how twitchy they are. You can see their agility. And also, too, bitch, we didn't have 1080p, 4K.
Right.
In 2003.
Yep.
You didn't have 16:9 widescreen. You didn't have this. So not only how the game is played, which honestly, to be honest with you, fam, if we had a chance to get some coaches and people who break down the game, probably say this is really not that much different from the game now to how the game is coached and the playbook and how offenses are schemed from 20 years ago, but how the game is presented
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
to the audience is completely different.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so different. It's so different.
So certain things just aren't as just certain things now are just accentuated more.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's there was no. I know obviously we're going to put the post up. You're going to see it on all of our social. Reply back with your list. You can. I think we're going to put the at our individual handles. You can add us, send us your list. We'll talk it up. We'll chop it up. But this shit is hard, right?
It is hard. It's so hard.
I mean, you got certain things. Is for as wrong as I feel PY is for putting Marvin Harrison behind Antonio Brown. I'm pretty sure there's people out there that are going to agree.
Oh, 100%.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be people that kill us for Calvin Johnson over T.O. Shit.
People are going to kill me for having Jamar Chase at 10. I'm going to say I don't care. Like,
right. It is what it is because it's this thing like, dude, you go ahead and try to do this. You be sitting here, could have put 1 AB, 2 AB, like every letter could have been an A and a B just because it's so difficult.
Yeah, I know.
Right. And honestly, we still left off people. Donald Driver. I mean, like
Donald Driver, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the one thing I will say. I mean, I can't even say that because T.O.'s on his fucking list. Like I said, we don't even have a Cowboy on here. But I mean,
that's another one.
Des Bryant was another one.
Des Bryant's a great one.
Really good.
Des
really good. Hines Ward.
Hines Ward was
another really good one. Like, there's so many good wide receivers. I feel like we said, I feel dirty leaving people out. Like it's really difficult. And again, like I in a few years.
Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson is another one. I saw him like, God damn, he's so good too.
I forgot about Jordy Nelson.
I could in 5 years, I could look at my list and say
it'll be completely different.
I was either so stupid for having Jamar Chase at 10, or I was a genius for having him there this early because he could be higher. Like we don't know how things will play out, and we don't know. It's tough to say when you're basing off talent. How I usually do, because like what Pete said, when I base it off talent, I'm looking beyond the stats. I don't just bring up the stats and then whoever had the better numbers, that's how I'm going to rank them. That's laziness to me. Like, and I wanted to frame these rankings in a way where if you wanted to include a current player, you can, because if that talent pops up and you think it's translatable to 20 years ago, then you can put him on. Like Brandon Marshall's another one. Brandon Marshall.
Plexico Brewers. I mean, there's a point you could probably put Demaryius Thomas on this list because
rest in peace.
Nobody knew who he was until Peyton got there. But once Peyton got there, that bitch was a fucking problem.
It was a problem. So yeah, so many wide receivers. This is this was
tough.
This was very tough. I don't think there was anyone's list where I was like, that's dumb, except for maybe PY putting AB over Marvin, but I can also understand it as an AB, as someone who loved AB. Who else? And then obviously Calvin Johnson over T.O. Like, I think that was the biggest debate we had.
Joseph.
Joseph, why did you let these guys bully you out of making your comments?
Because we are correct. Bullying works, god damn it.
No, it was actually my decision because
no, you're not taking this win for me.
After my tiers literally were tier 1 was 1 to 3, and then everyone
else.
That's bullshit. You know it.
Was tier 2. And 4 to 10 was tier 2, and I was like,
I want you to go on record. We bullied him into submission.
I don't want to be a bully. I mean, if we gently guided him, then I would say that.
For this, I do in my
notes.
Push you
down the stairs until we figured it out.
I can show you on my notes right here, as you can see, they are listed in 2 tiers. I have them into
there
tiers.
It is.
But when I put them up there,
you had to keep pushing, PY. We couldn't win the fight.
So I can tomorrow when I make the graphic, I'll put them into tiers. Just tiers. Like,
trying to cover his back. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you, man.
So,
courtesy of PY. Here goes these tiers.
I'll put 2 tiers out.
I will say there are 2 people, and this is no shot at anybody. Chucks and Tom. 2 of the most petty people I've ever met in my life. But it's great.
Yeah.
Petty is all hell, but I love them to death.
Oh, I
They're
love Tom, and I think one of the reasons why I love Tom is because we're so similar but so different.
Yeah.
Like we see football so differently, and that's why we're always arguing with each other.
Yeah.
But like our personalities are so similar. That's why our arguments are always so great because we're petty, we're emotional. We're like,
What? No.
Yes.
Never.
Do you guys want to hit up No Huddle for a few minutes?
Yeah, why not?
Anything you want to touch on? I don't know. I mean, I talked about Batman last week. You guys saw the Flash.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
You all liked it.
I saw it. I saw
I'm
Saturday.
probably gonna go see it again tomorrow or Saturday.
Nice. It was really good. It was really good.
Well, that's like my whole thing right now is like if I don't have anything to do on a Sunday, I'll just leave for a few hours just so I can get some quiet, and I'll just go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
Like I randomly went to go see Elemental on Sunday.
I will say there's nothing
How was that
better.
on?
I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like, it was quiet. No one was really there. I was on my phone. I'm watching the movie. You know, it's like me in a corner. It's like a fun time for 2 hours, and it's less than $10. So
There's nothing better than a matinee. I will say there's nothing better.
Well, it's less than
than
matinee and more like a $2. Like,
I mean, that's great too.
This is well. That's why I go there.
Cinemark is the GOAT, bro. They have movies at
20
9:30
minutes out of my way, and I still go there.
At 9:30 a.m.
I got
9:30 in the morning.
Really?
I think I got there at like 11. I planned to go to the 9:30 one, but I was just like, I can't. It took me a while to get up.
That's actually not bad though. Like you wake up.
Bro, you can just go and go.
Guys, here's a name also. Josh Gordon.
Yes.
Listen.
Oh my God.
You mean the XFL MVP?
There is no player that I have defended in my life more than Josh Gordon.
How many times did you guys, if you have a keeper league for at least a keeper league or a dynasty league back in the day, did you pick up Josh Gordon hoping that you would keep him and be like,
yes,
every
year he was in trouble, I would draft him, and just put him on the bench, and just hope and pray that he would come back.
Yeah.
It was funny because in 2013, I had him and Alshon on my team in 2013. And they both went off. They both went off that year. And I fell in love with Josh Gordon ever since. And it's one of the biggest what ifs in sports history to where if he stayed straight, he would have been one of the best wide receivers, not even like top 10,
on our
top 5 all time. It's not even a question.
On our list. Absolutely.
If he stayed on the straight and narrow, he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's not even a question.
No, it's not. Like when people talk about Gordon, they're just like, "Whoa, he was just a weed." I'm like, it got out of control. Like it wasn't even just a weed.
Well, it was weed, and it was a bunch of other stuff.
Remember when he was with the Patriots? They're just like, "Oh, he's golden. He's perfect. He's on his best behavior." He's like. They found him in like a back alley somewhere because he ditched security.
Yeah, he has a lot of.
The second that bye week happened, they're just like
he's John Jones without the titles, man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so, and then he catches Tom Brady's 500th career touchdown. Yeah. He's out of the league for a couple of years. He's like, hold on,
touchdown. Oh yeah, he was super talented too.
He was so fun to watch too.
The submarine they said it got somebody blew it up, right?
So it
ran out of oxygen.
Well, the thing was too, and this is from what I'm seeing, marine biologists, they're saying with how cheaply made the submarine was.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When they lost communication I think they said they were 2 hours, like just going down, the submarine itself just imploded just because of the pressure. It wasn't built properly to go that deep. That was the thing.
Yep.
Because I
watched the James Cameron movie,
and I was like, I don't know why I was so invested into it, but the guy that built the sub,
White Trash Gymnastics,
he went to like a whole bunch of board members and whatever, like professional marine biologists, and they all said, they're like, no, this sub isn't even close to. And
he still put it. How many people were on it?
It was a MacGyver submarine, for Christ's sakes.
That's really what it was. And they said the stuff that was like built in the sub, it was basically home appliances.
They controlled the fucking, excuse my French, they controlled it with a goddamn Xbox controller.
Xbox controller.
Yeah.
I had to explain it to my dad earlier today, and he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Dad, they're using Xbox controller," and I'm like, that thing doesn't work when you're in the house with it."
Yeah.
Nate, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Nate.
Appreciate it.
I'm sorry. Hold up. What is his picture of?
I don't know. I don't care.
Is that my babysitter's a vampire?
I don't know.
But yeah, like the whole the whole situation's weird, and it's unfortunate, but it's just
should have just watched the James Cameron documentary, man.
And it's crazy. They have documentaries out already.
Oh my god, yeah.
BBC came out with one literally today.
Yeah,
broadcasted today.
I don't feel bad for the other people. I feel bad for the kid because
100%, yeah. 100%.
Because he didn't want to go on. His dad made him do it. They were, if you don't love me, you have to get on this thing. He didn't want to go on this stupid boat.
It's just a really weird situation.
It's unfortunate.
It's really unfortunate. Yeah.
There's not enough money on God's green earth that could have got.
See, like Don says, you're a billionaire. Why do you want to spend? Like, honestly, like if you're a billionaire, why don't you want to fix world hunger? Why do you need to? Like, do something else that's beneficial. I mean, don't get me wrong. Can it be explored? It can be explored. Literally just saw something that was like, I think if you literally turn Mount Everest upside down, like from top to bottom, you submerge it, it still wouldn't touch the bottom. Yeah. Bro, like the ocean has only been 5% explored. Space has been explored more so than the ocean. And the Earth is 70% water.
Guys, I don't F with the water. Like I give me a nice pool where everything is controlled, and I'm not even a beach person. Yeah. I don't like the beach.
I like the beach, but
I don't F with the ocean.
This is
I don't.
Yeah, I'm good.
But it's always like you already know who's on that boat before you even know who's on that boat. Every freaking time it's every time, bro.
And even like a couple weeks ago with that kid on the cruise ship that his buddies dared him to jump off a cruise. That's a whole other conversation.
Got bad friends, man.
I'm not going to get into it because it's just, and again, reason number 9,102 why you'll never catch me on a cruise ship. Because if you fall off, God forbid, you're done. That's it.
Well,
that's it.
I will go.
Here's the thing. I didn't like cruise ship.
I am good. I am perfectly fine.
Before COVID and everything, because like shenanigans and stuff. After that, I'm like, never on God's green earth.
I want to go on a cruise so bad,
never.
Just because of everything you can do on a cruise, and then you can explore.
Too many people get killed or get kidnapped or disappear. I'm good.
I'm so excited to go to when they go on a cruise. But like to your point, like all of my family had the same reasons. Like my sister and her husband refused to go on cruises for the same reasons. I had to finally convince Mary just a few months ago to do a Disney cruise because she was scared to be out in the ocean.
Jersey literally has the most famous cruise ship like murder mystery in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. So
Don, that shit was wild.
That was crazy.
I just watched it.
Oh, you didn't see it yet?
I didn't see it.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
Bro,
what do you call it? It nabs him. It bites the guy because the guy's trying to swim back to shore. The shark nabs him, pulls him down a little bit. The guy comes back up. Shark goes away from him, and then just makes a complete U-turn and goes back. And the guy doesn't come back up. You
see him flailing. You see a little blood in the water. You see him, and then you actually see. Like I just watched it. The shark actually comes for his head. Like it grabs him like by his head.
Yeah, like right here.
Right here, and bro, like that's crazy.
It was quick. It was quick.
And I think they said it was a tiger shark, right?
Yeah, it was a tiger shark. Yeah.
So this is the thing about sharks. Honestly, great whites get the biggest thing about just being large in size. Their teeth, all right, it's serrated. They're just big as shit.
Yeah, they're
bull sharks, aggressive as shit. The last shark you want to get bit by is a tiger shark.
Yeah.
The tiger shark's teeth are like hot knives. They just slice through you. They have like the most blade, like their teeth is just like the sharpest knife you can find. It's like getting a paper cut.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's odd that a tiger shark did that in that manner, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was somewhere in Egypt. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And like shortly after, they got they somehow found the shark and brought it to shore and killed it.
Oh, of course.
Justice.
I gotta watch it.
It's insane. You go on Twitter, it's everywhere.
Dude,
It's nuts.
Why are they I'm on YouTube trying to watch it? Every video is blurred out.
Oh well, it's YouTube, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But even the one I watched, it was like an India Today website, and it was like the same thing. Like it's to a point you can see him, but then once he comes back and he grabs him like high, like near the neck, that's when they start blurring it out because you can see the shark's mouth doing this. Like he's literally eating him as he's still alive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like whereas as far as a great white shark would have took a chunk out of him so big that it would have been over. So this looks like, and you can see when they pull the shark out the water and they kill it, the shark isn't that big.
No, it's not.
It's like a juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's not a full grown tiger shark, because tiger sharks can get like 10,
they can
15,
get big,
like 10, 15 feet.
Yep.
But you usually see them a lot in Hawaii.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
I am not doing. There's no way I'm ever doing that.
Yeah, no.
I'm watching it.
No, that's true too. He said dolphins kill more than sharks. They do.
They do. Sharks are scared of dolphins.
Just bro, I'm telling you, just wait until killer whales start wanting to mess with people, bro.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw that one where killer whales actually purposely sunk a ship.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
They sunk a ship like it's like
you don't screw up free willy no more, baby.
Bro, you see them when they be playing with the seals. They be throwing the seals back and forth with they with they tails.
Not under.
Oh, did you see the one where the whale launched the seal like in 50 feet in the air? Oh, it was crazy. Chuck's watching.
People are like do that thing in SeaWorld with those things. I'm like, no, thank you. They're called killer whales for a reason, baby.
Body of water that I'm in, my feet need to be, I can get to the bottom.
Yeah.
If I can't get to the bottom, bro, I ain't fucking with it, man.
Nope.
I wanted my wife to go to Hawaii so bad, but all right, this is where my feet going.
One of my favorite horror movies is this ridiculous movie called.
So when you went to Fiji, right? You didn't go in the water.
I did go in the water, but it's very minimal. Like, so the first place we stayed at was an overwater bungalow, and they have at the back of the back of the bungalow, they have a ladder that goes into the to the water, right?
Okay.
The most I went in was still on the ladder, and my feet were like.
Does Fiji not have sharks?
Huh?
Does Fiji not have sharks?
I don't know. I sure do, but
the
water was clear, so I could see everything.
Not at night, bitch. You sleep.
I didn't go in at night. I went in during the day. I was in during the day. So that was in terms of the ocean. That was the most I went in. I would my like most of my legs were in, but I was still on the ladder sitting up. So like most of my body still.
So what you do? But you slept overnight in the bungalow, right?
I slept overnight in the bungalow. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, nah, bitch. Like, all it take is a shark or something to come with the fin and just knock you out the bungalow. How high is the bungalow?
The bungalow's high. Have you never seen an overwater bungalow? And like,
if Don, to answer your question real quick, yes, it's not the stingray's fault. It's the people who pulled the barb out when they didn't know it was in his aorta. That was the problem because he bled out.
Was it them or I thought Steve pulled it out? That was
somebody pulled it out.
I think Steve was the one. Yeah, Steve was the one that pulled. But Don, speaking of which, if you haven't seen his son on like YouTube or TikTok, it's insane. They're the same person.
Same exact person.
It's insane.
See, I'm not allowed to talk about Steve Irwin because I'll come off as a evil person.
Okay, don't talk about. Don't talk about.
Yeah, don't.
Right, because if you're messing with things like that, like you're putting something in your own hand, you're taking the control out of your own hands, man.
But that goes back. That goes back to the billionaire comment. Why you want to go in? It's just like the grizzly dude. Right, the grizzly dude who wanted to observe.
Well, that guy had some,
and then when bears is going to be bears. There's
right.
The same thing like having a tiger.
Decide they want to be wild animals. There's nothing that you can do. It's listen. I'm gonna try to do everything in my power, but you seen that even the chimp ripped the chick face off. Like,
oh my god,
these bitches are strong for a reason. They wild animals for a reason.
Siegfried and Roy is the perfect example.
Oh.
They raised that tiger from birth.
When it was baby, yep.
From a baby. You took care of that thing. You gave it like every love and affection and money could buy for this thing.
Yep.
And they still tried to eat your ass.
Well, that's
all
because
you need to
the
know.
one thing with the tiger is you don't even. I'm not planning on meeting a wild tiger. Don't turn your back on a fucking tiger.
No.
And he turned his back, and all it takes is that split. Like you can domesticize a wild animal as much as you want to. All it takes is that animal to have 5 to 10 seconds of, oh shit, I'm a wild animal, bitch, and it's over.
Right. Yeah.
So like somebody not leaving the same. From this account, somebody gonna be different.
Yeah.
Right. And that, bro, it's just.
And get to your other point, Pete, about like chimps. People don't understand how strong they are. Like they're all like if you've ever seen them like shaved or anything like that, they're all muscle.
Further machines.
It's like, bro, they said
muscle.
I see something a kangaroo killed the dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was 1-2 rope ago.
Hippos are dangerous.
The
You guys know hippos?
Hippos kill like 500 people a year.
Hippos kill the most humans in Africa every year.
Yeah.
Hippos don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit, and they don't even. And they kill you. They bite you. They don't even eat you. They just.
And that's the other thing with hippos too. Like they look like they're just fat, pudgy things.
No,
that's all muscle. That's all muscle and blubber under there.
Oh,
That's
it's muscle, bro.
You remember that one pet detective they killed?
Oh yeah.
Well,
There's a video of someone on a what is it, like an airboat or whatever. There was a hippo coming by. The guy's going like a decent speed, like probably 10, 15 miles an hour, and the hippo's keeping up with them. Like just going. I'm like that's I'm good.
Bro.
I'm
it's,
good.
It's like my dog. My dog did something, and like I forget what he did, and I was just playing around, and then I really wanted to take the thing from him. This was stupid, and like I've literally felt all the pressure like in his jaws and his bite, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like, okay. I was like, noted, because if I ever really got to go at you, I thought maybe I may have to hit you like 80%. Nah, player.
Gotta go full blown,
and you can't. Like I think now, like we starting to see a lot of bears in area. I'm not starting to see a lot of bears in South Jersey in areas that they haven't seen bears on. Like, what do you think is going to happen? It's a black bear. That's all I always said. Like, I don't want to get chased by a lion, tiger, but worst of all, bear. I literally saw this deer was like 500 yards away, swimming across this river.
Oh, they're so fast.
The bear wasn't even in the frame, bro.
They're so fast.
no.
It was just swimming, and then the deer got tired before the bear.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, they're
bro,
they're 1,400 pounds of just pure power.
Let me throw a Twinkie.
There was a what do you call it? There was a video I was watching of a guy and like his friend. I think they were like hunting or something in the woods. They were up on those like tree perches. 2 little bear cubs. They were probably like, I want to say like 30, 40 feet up in the tree. The bear cubs climb up. They were probably up in that tree in like 3 seconds. Like it was just
all the way up.
Like to where they were, what do you call it? They were there in like less than like 5 seconds.
and then if you see and that's the last thing you want to see the cubs, because then the mom's coming.
Oh yeah.
Then it's bro, it's good. That listen.
That's why I don't hunt,
bears,
man.
brown
That's why I
bears,
don't hunt. I leave
grizzlies.
that to Papa Pete.
But that damn Kodiak bear, bitch, gets called a night. Yo.
Kodiak bear.
My
bear
dad does enough hunting for the both of us.
Yeah.
Fuck
God.
that. All them
Yeah,
guns
okay.
and all that shit, man. Fuck.
I don't need that. He's like, don't
I'm
you?
good.
You wanna? I'm getting up at like 4 a.m. You wanna come with him? I don't think so.
I'm good.
Mhm.
No, thank you.
Bitch, I need a lightsaber, bitch. That's the only weapon I'm gonna feel comfortable
Here's
with.
the thing. Here's the thing. If I ever have the idea to do something so stupid and idiotically white, I'm gonna text my buddy and be like, "You think this is a good idea?"
Wait.
And he's gonna be like, "No, dude."
Yeah, no. No,
Oh
I'm
my
good.
gosh.
I'm
I don't know how we got on Animal Planet, but bro, that's
We're
crazy.
here. We're here though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Condolences for that man's family. That's
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's terrible.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
that's
Um,
just dog,
it's sad.
just
Just is. Yeah.
Yep.
bitch, I will crash a car for a
Get
spider if they
home.
want to get freaky, bitch.
Oh yeah.
Get home.
I hit a raccoon 4 weeks ago, and that
Right.
bitch still alive and fucked my car up.
You know what? It sounds like you need a new car.
Oh, you
That's
son
like
of a
crack the
well
grill.
done.
It sounds like you should go down to Apollo
Well
Auto
done.
Sales. They're pretty great.
Wow, what a
Good
transition.
job. Well done. You're
What
learning.
a transition.
Very
Look at
good.
that.
Well done.
I will
I
only
learned from
buy
the
a car
best.
from you if you run around you do 2 laps around the building with no inhaler.
Bitch, I can't get up and down the thing. Like, what are you talking about? Up and
Down the
laps.
parking lot.
I mean, it's a pretty big parking lot. It's like a massive upgrade.
No, I
to the other
know
place.
how
Oh my
Carlo-
god!
I know how Carlo. I used to do those walks every morning. I remember. No, thank you. I'm good.
All right, gentlemen. So next week, we get into running backs. Finally,
Yes, dear.
2023 running back rankings.
Teach us,
Marcus, a special guest from Pro Fan Talk, will be joining us to have some RB conversation about when it comes to the Eagles. So we'll talk about that as well. So if you're listening still, tune in for that next week. Should be a lot of fun. It probably won't be as controversial as this list, but it still be a lot of good conversation still. For our thank you to our show sponsors, Alonzo Travel and Baggio's Bread. Remember to mention A2D Radio for 10% off your entire order. Check out all the shows that we've got at the station. We've got so many new shows almost every single day. So give some love and support as you have been, and we greatly appreciate it as always. For myself, Mr. OG Pete, Mr. PY, and Mr. Jake Friel, we will see you same time, same place next week. Until then, be safe. God bless. Peace out.
See you guys.